Hey everybody, it's Mike Young from Tesla High Mileage Club at teslahighmileageclub.com and also at digitalnomad.net. And I want to give you all a masterclass on the Tesla air conditioning system, the Tesla AC system. I'm sure if you've been around, and Teslas are so popular now, I'm recording this in June of 2025, that I'm sure you know somebody who's had air conditioning issues in their Tesla. And I want to demystify everything here. I want to use your time wisely. And I want you to not have any Tesla air conditioning problems. Now, there is one caveat. If you know somebody who has a brand new Tesla and they have a problem with their air conditioner within the first year, it's probably not covered here. But I can almost guarantee you that even if someone says they have low mileage on their Tesla, if they've had it for like 4 or 5 years and are having problems with their air conditioner, it's going to be explained here in this masterclass. So let's get down right to it. What is the main issue with Tesla, and have they done something wrong? Did they need to go back to the drawing board? Well, as you know, if you have a Tesla, you don't have a spare tire, and you have all this room where there's normally an engine up front in the front. And in order to get that kind of room, you have to, or they have had to, the Tesla engineers, relocate the air conditioning compressor slash radiator. So there's actually two different radiators, not compressors, condenser slash radiator. There's two of these things. There's a condenser and a radiator there. One of them cools off the battery pack and one of them cools off the refrigerant for the air conditioning system. And they are, instead of going up and down on the front like you'd normally have, you open the hood on the front, right? And you got this up and down thing right behind the front bumper. And you can take a low pressure garden hose and you can easily flush it out, no problem, if you even need to, because generally water is flowing through there as you're at speed. Okay, it's kind of self-cleaning in a way, although it still benefits from cleaning. Problem is, a Tesla air conditioner radiator condenser is not like that. All right. And in addition to that, it's modern, meaning the passages in the condenser are actually 5 to 10 times smaller than the ones in your evaporator, which is the other coil, the other half of the coil that's underneath your glove or storage box, whatever you want to call it. I don't think anybody wears driving gloves anymore. And that's the one on the interior that has the interior fan blowing on it. The one I'm talking about has the exterior fan blowing on it. You can't see, it's underneath all the shrouding underneath your car, and it's underneath your frunk. So in order to get to it, you can't just open the frunk and spray a garden hose in it. You have to open the frunk, and I got videos on this at teslahighmileageclub.com. Just go ahead and look up top at the featured post, scroll back, you'll see it. Now, I recommend you clean it once a year to avoid problems, okay? Right away. You're probably like, wait a minute, Mike, nobody ever told me to do this. And of course, Elon Musk wants to say there's zero maintenance on Teslas, and there isn't. You're going to have problems because the air conditioning system in a Tesla is critical. All right. It's not like the one in your ICE car where it never needs to run after the engine's turned off. This one, whenever you plug it into a supercharger, and that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm supercharging it over here. See? It's running, and especially if you're supercharging at a high rate, it's running overtime because it wants to preserve the battery pack. Tesla does not want to make any warranty claims. So, and then if you're car camping like Denise and I do, you're running it more. If you are pulling a trailer on the highway, which we've done many, many times, you're also making it run more. And guess what? Tesla knows it gets dirty, and because of that, they actually have a flap that covers up the airflow component that's underneath your front bumper, above the bottom of your car. It closes when it's not being used, because otherwise it would constantly be blowing air that has dust and dirt in it. All air has dust and dirt in it. Okay. So let's get to what you need to do. You need to clean it with a vacuum very carefully, not to bend any of the fins, every year, once a year. And you need to chemical clean. When I say chemical clean, I mean use a good quality coil cleaner. I know it's not environmentally friendly, but this is what you need because of the design. You can't just take a low pressure garden hose and spray it in there. You got to use chemical cleaning, and you must let those chemicals saturate and run down and watch under your car until the chemicals coming out and dripping down from your car are just as clean as the white foam that is probably white foam going in. If it has any dirt at all, you got to keep spraying. There's so many tiny little passages in there where dust gets caked in, and especially if you're not doing this after 1 year, if you're doing this after 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, which is probably most of you out there, and send this video to a friend, please. Definitely like it, but send it to a friend before they get stuck in this. it may take you, I don't know, 8, 10, 12 cans of coil cleaner, chemical coil cleaner till it flows the same color as what's going into the car. Does that make sense? Let me know. Okay, so that's the first step. Now you may wonder, well, what else is there that's going to protect this thing? Well, the thing is, here's what happens. Your system gradually loses efficiency as dirt builds up in this radiator slash condenser. That's just how it works. That's why you should also take a hose, a low pressure hose to your exterior unit on your home AC. Same reason, because it's an efficiency situation. You want it to run as efficiently as possible. Now, usually the coil on the inside of your Tesla, as long as you're changing the air filters and hopefully you have HEPA, HEPA helps. I have that on my car. Most of the newer Teslas have the HEPA filter. Change that regularly. Change the interior cabin. You'll be fine. You won't really have to clean it. I've heard of some smells, and it could be related, but this video doesn't cover that. That's not the subject of this video. The subject of this video is, why is my air conditioner not working right? Why is it shutting off? Why do I need new compressors? Why, even after I put a new compressor in, does it break again? We're going to get to all this here in a few minutes. So I have had 2 compressors in my vehicles. Now, what I did notice, now especially when I look back in time, I got like 325,000 miles on this one vehicle, 2 compressors changed. So I'm on my like 4th compressor or something like that. Actually, I think it might be 5th now, because Tesla just did another one recently for free under warranty. Okay, here's what happens. You lose efficiency, so the system starts to run hotter. You can probably check all this out in service mode. And it starts to shut off on the hottest days. Hottest days being days when you are supercharging, like 90+ degree days out in the sun, and then you disconnect it and start to drive away. That's when I noticed that my system was shutting down. It wasn't shutting down during the supercharging, although it was reducing the air conditioning in the cabin, and then it just started to shut down. Because if it doesn't shut down, it'll melt down, okay? You don't want that. Nobody wants that. What happens is, as this compressor, which is the unit that compresses the gas, that turns it real hot and then runs it through the radiator, so it can let that heat off through a clean radiator condenser, it's really hot. It makes up a lot of heat, and if the compressors were working so hard, eventually when it fails, and it will fail eventually, it starts to throw off little pieces of metal. And it's worse with heat. It could just implode or blow up. So they make the system shut down. Or you could just be working overtime all the time, in which case you're going to start having little metal pieces fall off. And you're like, well, Mike, why don't they just put a filter there? Why don't they just put a filter right before it gets to that compressor condenser? I'm sorry, the condenser radiator. After the compressor, but before the condenser radiator. And that would seem like it would be a good idea. And by the way, nobody says this. No, Tesla doesn't even acknowledge this exists, but there is a filter in there. And because of physics, they cannot put it right in front of that unit, because the gas and the fluid is too hot. Apparently, there's something with physics where it's not going to work. So they make the fluid run halfway through that condenser radiator, and then they filter it. And there's a filter. It's right in there where the desiccant bag is, okay, which is what absorbs moisture, which you want to change out every few years. And then when you do that, if you have Tesla or anybody else do it besides you, which is probably what you're going to do, please tell them to take that filter screen out and either clean it or replace it. There's a filter screen in there. I'm telling you, you've probably never heard this before, but there is. And that's where it is. So problem is that if you have not cleaned your radiator out and you have slowly lost efficiency and your system's been overworked because you supercharge a lot or just drive a lot on hot days or just use the car in general, I mean, you don't have to do anything special, what you may have started to throw off little metal pieces in there. And if you do, because this filter is located only halfway, or is halfway between the condenser, halfway into the condenser, you're going to get pieces of metal that get lodged and stuck in and cannot be vacuumed out. Although you're supposed to vacuum out whenever you clean, drain and refill the system, or you evacuate and recharge is what they call it, or whenever you replace the compressor, you're supposed to vacuum out, do a complete job of vacuuming. There was somebody I met online there I think in Hickory, North Carolina, who's not even working for Tesla, but he discovered through his own work of Tesla air conditioners at an aftermarket shop or an independent shop that they were clogging their condensers. Sure enough, because he realized that the filter was halfway through it and not at the front, and you can't change that. So it's a good idea that if your compressor goes bad for any reason to replace the condenser, believe it or not, because you're not going to be able to vacuum out. Even if they do the best job possible, they may not be able to do that. Oh, and by the way, if and when you have your system evacuated and recharged or a new compressor, make sure you tell them to vacuum out completely, but also make sure to tell them to use the right oil and the right amount. A lot of times they don't do either of those, and I think that's why I've had to have my compressor replaced a few times, and also because I probably had a clog in there because these passages, like I said, are tiny. They're much tinier than the evaporator. So hopefully you get what I'm saying. This is the masterclass. I've crammed so much into this little amount of time here, a little over 10 minutes, but hopefully it is an education for you. If it is, please give it a thumbs up. Please share it with somebody who could use this information, which is any Tesla owner. And there's millions of Tesla owners out there. I don't think it's a defective system. I think it's what gives you a lot of room in your frunk. And it's the only way to do it. The thing is, you have to do your annual maintenance and you have to clean it correctly. Like I said, the cleaning must be done correctly in every year. And if you're behind, you got to catch up by doing an amazing job cleaning. Maybe do two cleanings in a row. I don't know, back to back, month after month. And then you can switch to once a year. But if you can't figure out why your compressors keep failing as you get new ones put in, it's probably what I said. You probably have metal pieces lodged in your condenser / radiator that maybe can never come out. And in which case you need to replace that unit. But you still, no matter what you do, have to keep on top of that maintenance. So hopefully you will. Hopefully this video inspires you to do that. And I appreciate you watching and giving me a thumbs up. Join us at TeslaHighMileageClub.com. I'm constantly learning. I'm learning so much myself in this group from people talking about their different situations. And this air conditioning system, yeah, it is an epidemic almost in Teslas, but it's an epidemic that doesn't need to happen. You can just do the maintenance. You can just have a good habit of cleaning out that radiator / condenser once a year. And you should be able to, I would think your compressor should last the life of your vehicle. And I'm still on my original battery pack and motors at 325,000 miles. Original windshield, original brakes. Should be original compressor. It should be. But nobody told me this. So share it with somebody that can benefit. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video.